Hi everybody, happy August. This month we're talking about music in the classroom. And I love music in the classroom. I love it as a learner and I love it as a teacher, but don't just take my word for it. Research shows that music in the classroom is a great way of helping with language acquisition. The sound of music matches the sound of a language. And this is really important for giving students opportunities to practice pronunciation. The sounds that we make when we're singing are very similar to the sounds that we make when we're speaking. Another study found that music in the classroom increases feelings of joy and confidence and lowers anxiety, which is exactly what we want. It's been shown that music aids memory and that, in fact, music aids language acquisition. So using music in a classroom is a great way to complement the other strategies that we're using. Now, you do not have to be a musical person to use music in the classroom. Despite my mother's best efforts, I am only marginally musical. I can carry a tune. If you can't carry a tune, that's okay. You can still use music. You can use recordings, and we'll talk about how you can do that. So to make a song lesson, it's important that students are already familiar with the topic and are ready for independent practice. Shouldn't use a song on the first day of a new topic. They should already be comfortable and ready to practice. The first thing you want to think about is, what do you want your students to practice? Do you want to focus on particular vocab or grammar or culture or idioms? And remember, we're always thinking, what do I want my students to be able to do with this language? So if I choose a grammar point that I want them to practice, it's because I want them to be able to use this grammar point doing a particular task in real life. So I have a couple of examples here. The beginner example is Tingaleo. I don't know if you know this song, but the chorus part of it, so Tingaleo is a little donkey, and the chorus part of it goes, my donkey walks, my donkey talks, my donkey eats with a knife and fork. And so you can use that to teach the simple present. Or an intermediate example, I will survive. You can talk about the simple future. So thinking about what you want the students to practice is the best way to choose a song. It's less useful if you just have a song you think the students will like, and you bring it in. It's better if it's tied to what you're actually doing in class. Next, you want to think about the language level. For beginners, you want something with simple lyrics. Or you can take something with more complicated lyrics and simplify them. For example, hokey pokey. The part about you do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. You might want to simplify that somehow, just to make it easier for the students. Intermediate, of course, you can have more complex lyrics, but be careful. If the lyrics are too complex and you're having to explain too much, students will check out. They will get very bored very quickly and your lesson will go south. Now, obviously, you need to think about, how are you going to play the song? Will you use the library's speakers or your own computer speakers? Will you use a boombox? Remember those? Will you use some of those fancy like Bluetooth speakers that you can plug into your phone? Or will you sing? There are many options. So let's talk about the lesson progression now. So first, it would be important to teach any essential vocabulary. For example, here is a lesson that I did back when I taught at the university. The chapter was about cowboys, and so I chose to use Don't Fence Me In. And so I pre-taught words like saddle, cottonwood, yonder, ridge, because those were words that my students were not likely to already know and weren't really important to any real language purpose. They were just necessary for this song. So I pre-taught those. Next, you want students to just relax and listen. They're just going to enjoy the music for the first time. After that, you can ask them, oh, do you know this song? How does the song make you feel? What do you think this is about? So we're integrating conversation with this activity. Next, we're going to listen again, but the second time with the lyrics handout. If you've got beginners, maybe the first time you give them the lyrics, you want them to just follow along. They're just hearing, learning to connect the sound, the listening, with the reading, with the script on the page. And if they're ready, you can do this with beginners, but more likely intermediate and advanced, you can create a cloze activity, which means a fill in the blank, where you take out particular lyrics and they are listening particularly for those missing lyrics. And that's really fun because you're helping them focus, training their brains to focus on particular information, which is what we need to do in the real world. Listen as many times as you need. This should not be a stressful activity, as many times as the learners need. And in reality, repetition helps with their comprehension of the language. It's going to help with their pronunciation, and it's going to help with their fluency. Now, after we've listened 2 or 3 times, we can move into whatever our focus learning point is. So, for example, if we're doing Tangaleo, my donkey walks, my donkey talks, you can ask students to circle all of the simple present verbs that they hear and see. Or if you've got a song about food, I don't know, can't think of any right now, but if you've got a song about food, you could ask them to circle all the food words if you were practicing vocabulary. This is a great thing to have students do in partners or groups. It's really fun. Then you can come back together and check the answers. Another great thing to do after you've finished the learning point practice is to focus on idioms or slang, which are in any pop song that you use, you're going to have a lot of idioms or slang. And you can go line by line and ask students what each line means. This can take a whole class period. You'll be surprised by how much students, how in-depth they'll go with this. So be prepared. It might take a lot longer than you're expecting. Finally, listen again and sing along. I once had a class full of Fulbright scholars who are international scholars who are here on government scholarships, and they were all doctors and lawyers. And they were so into singing "I Will Survive." It knocked my socks off. So have people sing along if they feel like it. But this part is not mandatory, of course. If you don't feel comfortable with this, you don't have to do it. But it is really fun. So in conclusion, using music in the classroom is a wonderful way to integrate pronunciation and fluency practice. It's a great way to make grammar, vocabulary, and idiom practice really engaging. And it's fun and low stress. It's going to contribute to that safe classroom community that you're establishing in your classroom. And check out the links in the rest of the newsletter for tons of resources about how to use music in the classroom. Have a great month.